What's going on, all my moviegoers? Welcome to Jacey Flicks. My name is JC, and today we're going to be reviewing the Thanksgiving film directed by Eli Roth, starring Rick Hoffman, Patrick Dempsey, Addison Rae, and a few others. Alright, now before I do get started, please know that this is going to be a spoiler-free review, so if you have not seen it, it's okay. You don't have to click away. Alright, so also please make sure you hit that like, subscribe, hit that notification bell to stay up to date on new movies and shows I'm going to be reviewing in the future. I'm definitely going to start dedicating a lot of my time to this. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. Now, with the Thanksgiving film, it initially started off as a Grindhouse trailer back in 2007. Now, if you guys do not know what Grindhouse is, you're unfamiliar with it, back then you had some movies that came out like Robert Rodriguez's Planet Terror as well as Quentin Tarantino's Death Proof, and during that time they also had some fake trailers that they put up that were pretty cool, which one of them was Thanksgiving as well as Machete, alright, starring Danny Trejo. If you guys don't remember that, that was one of the horror films that ended up being made in the future as well. So all of this time in between, Eli Roth finally got his wish and he was able to make this film. Now, the brief synopsis goes like this. The movie starts off as a Black Friday sale that turns into a massacre that has the killer exacting his revenge on some of the people who were there that night. And he's dressed up as John Carver, which was one of the first pilgrims to arrive on Plymouth, Massachusetts. All right. So let's go ahead and get started with the positives of this film. I would say that the kills are pretty awesome. They're pretty gruesome and had me on the edge of my seat, with also one of the plot points being that you don't necessarily know who the killer is. There's a lot of decoys, there's a lot of misdirection when it comes to you guessing who the killer is, which I will say had me at the edge of my seat and had me intrigued throughout most of the film. Another positive I will say is that you can tell Eli Roth has a deep appreciation for slasher films and always has. Now, as you can see behind me, I love these two films right here, them being some of my favorite slasher films of Scream as well as Halloween and Michael Myers, right? So you could tell some of his nods in there. The opening scene has kind of like a killer's point of view and them breathing, and the camera kind of goes into the house like that. Kind of reminds me of Halloween 2 and some of those beginning scenes, as well as Scream, right? There's one part in particular where the core characters are talking about who the killer could be or who the killer isn't or couldn't be, and it kind of reminded me of the first Scream film. So you could see Eli Roth's deep appreciation for some of these films. With that being said, I will also say those nods are really cool, and I was watching something not too long ago, the other day actually, on Eli Roth, and he was interviewed about this movie, and he was saying that it was his dream to always make a slasher film, that being dedicated to a holiday, and he always thought Thanksgiving is one holiday that is celebrated nationally that hasn't had a really good slasher film that's attached to it, right? And with that, he was saying one of the things that he did, and one of the cool tidbits, was that he had some of the crew members and other people involved in the film dress up as the character of John Carver, so that the audience was very misdirected and didn't know throughout the film who the killer was necessarily. And that did work to that effect. I even turned to the person next to me a couple points and said, could it be this person or could it be that person? You really don't know. So that was pretty cool. And also I will say another tidbit that was pretty cool was that at one point in the film, one of the victims does have a cat in there. As it turns out, that's the same cat that was used in the remake of Pet Sematary, which was pretty cool. I'm a cat lover myself, as well as a dog lover, so I thought that was really cool. But you can definitely see the ode to some of these slasher films being in here, with Eli Roth also being very creative in some of the kills. One in particular towards the end with the dinner scene that has you entertained throughout most of the film with some of these creative kills. And I will say I had fun with this. Now, let's get into some of the negatives. In typical Eli Roth fashion, just know that this has some outrageous over-the-top violence, of course, and I'm not gonna lie, first couple scenes, even the Black Friday scene in particular, had me kind of questioning, is the rest of the film going to be like this? Because I'm gonna be honest, I'm not a huge fan of Eli Roth's films, but I will say that it's not because of the violence. It can be over the top, and I'm fine with that. I mean, you're talking to somebody who loves the Terrifier films, right? I'm okay with that, but often at times, in my opinion, I feel like Eli Roth's films puts a lot of the violence and the gore at the forefront, and the script and even the screenplay can be taken a back seat, right? So with this film, luckily there is a balance, but I will say there are some gruesome kills that had me on the fence of whether or not this was gonna have a good rest of the plot and if it was gonna keep me intrigued, which it did. Another one of the negatives, I will say, of course, you go to these films to have fun, be entertained. It's a slasher film, right? So sometimes the dialogue can be a little shaky, a little cringy at times, and I will say some of the logic, especially 3/4 into the film, with one of the characters being somewhere at a certain point, I will say that had me scratching my head on how they were able to do that. So don't go into this film thinking everything's gonna make total sense. But nonetheless, you guys, I did have fun with this film, and I would say it's one of the better Eli Roth films. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan, but I will say that this is worth the watch. If you're into buying physical copies like I am of movies, I would definitely say get it on Blu-ray and DVD when it comes out. Definitely collect it. I'm gonna go ahead and give this 4 flames out of 5. I recommend this film, you guys. I did have fun with it. Let me know your thoughts below. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What were some of the things that you felt you could have changed, even if you were directing this or writing the screenplay? What are some of the things that you loved about it? And do you think this is gonna be one of those slasher classics like these for the upcoming future? You think they're gonna make a sequel or not? Just let me know, comment below, all right? Again, my name is Jacey from Jacey Flicks, and until next time, Jacey out.